Breaking news in the CBS Sports HQ, it is official. Your first look at the first college football playoff rankings. The committee putting their foot down. Georgia at 1, no surprise there. At number 2, Alabama. Bit of a surprise, getting the benefit of the doubt there with one loss to their name. Michigan State, undefeated at 8-0, coming off that big win against Michigan, is your third-ranked team. And Oregon, quack, quack. The Ducks with a big-time win over Ohio State earlier in the season. The committee valuing that as the win of the season. And also notable here, Cincinnati, not just on the outside looking in, but with a 6 next to their name. The road back is a steep one, as it is for Boomer Sooner. 9-0, but sitting at number 8. All right, let's get our guys in the mix. The 2-time Super Bowl champ Bryant McFadden and big game Dennis Dodd. Gentlemen, the numbers are next to the names. We see what the committee thinks, but maybe we don't see what the committee sees. Let's run through these here. Starting off with Bama at number 2. Bit of a surprise there with how high they were ranked. Dennis, what does this tell you about the way Bama is seen by the committee? Are we not just looking at this season, but seasons past and what this program brings to the table holistically?
Yeah, of course they are. I mean, we see this every year. They value name brands, but it's going to take care of itself. Either Georgia's going to win that championship game and eliminate Alabama, so they're going to be out of the top 4, or the way things set up now, Alabama's going to win, Georgia's going to be in the top 4, and you're going to have 2 from the SEC again. So I think in the first week of the rankings, it doesn't really matter. I think you expected both of them to be in. The question now is, does the SEC get 1 or does the SEC get 2? Because Alabama's on note. They can't lose again. Georgia's the best team in the country. It looks to me like by far. Alabama had that little trip up against Texas A&M, but I think they're eye candy. Offensively, they're very fun to watch. Defensively, they're not as good as they have been. But Will Anderson Jr., for a while, they looked like the best defensive player in the country. And they gave up a bunch of points to Tennessee, but I think the offense is trying to, at least looking like it's in lockstep or getting like it was last year. So no, I don't have a problem with them at number 2 because it's going to work itself out.
Yeah, I agree. Also, Dennis, I think right now looking at Alabama before the hiccup to Texas A&M, they had beaten 3 ranked opponents. Miami was ranked at the time they played Miami. Florida was ranked on the road. They played Florida, and I think Mississippi. And then they had that slip up, and since then, I mean, my goodness, they woke up a sleeping monster. Since losing to A&M, they put up 50+ on Tennessee. I think it was an almost, 48-49 on Mississippi State. So right now, they're really clicking on all cylinders, and it's about the name brand. It's about the tradition and prestige, and I'm right there with you. Everything will work itself out. If Alabama wins out, and they get to the SEC championship game and beat Georgia, they will be in for sure. They can't afford to have any more hiccups. No more hiccups at all. So they have to take care of their business. So I know some teams and some schools and some players might be, well, they always give Alabama an opportunity that they don't give other universities. Yes, that's true. But if you take care of your business, everything will work itself out. And Alabama understands and they know, listen, we're in now, but we cannot afford to have any more mishaps. They got LSU this weekend. You still got Auburn. You still got another ranked opponent as well, Arkansas. They're not ranked, but you still got Arkansas, which is an SEC opponent as well. So they have a very, very, it's not a difficult schedule, but it can be tricky, to say the least. But I'm not surprised to see Alabama in the top 4.
It's always fun when these things come out, guys, because we can sort of reverse engineer it and see the way the committee's thinking about things. I want to turn your attention to that 4-5 slot. 4 being occupied by 1-loss Oregon, 5 being occupied by 1-loss Ohio State. Ohio State's loss obviously did come to Oregon, so they find themselves on the outside looking in. The committee, they're putting the value on the head-to-head and not the quality of the loss, because Oregon did lose to Stanford a couple weeks after their triumph over Ohio State. Oregon's sitting on the inside right now. Taking a look at things here with them being the 4th-ranked team in the country, in the college football playoff ranking, that is, not in the AP poll. But they have 4 games out in front of them, Dennis. No ranked opponents. What does the road ahead look like for Oregon if they take care of business?
Well, they're at Washington this week in a big rivalry game, which again, the way Oregon's been playing and with all the injuries they have, I think that's going to be a really tough game for them. They're at Utah in the second last regular season game of the season. Utah, I think despite some losses, is still the most physical team in the Pac-12. They look a lot like a Big Ten team or an SEC team. Maybe not talent-wise, but it's the way they play. If they maneuver that, they deserve to be in. But here's the problem. And the committee, if they don't know it, is setting itself up for Ohio State to pass Oregon because of what you just. Ohio State still has to play Michigan State. They still have to play Michigan. Their schedule is better than Oregon's down the stretch. Whoever they beat from the West Division, they're going to get a bump from that, possibly a ranked team from that. There may not be a ranked team in the Pac-12 South to play. We don't know that yet. But this has history behind it. If you remember, in 2014, Ohio State still is the team that came from the furthest behind ever to get in the playoff. They were 16th that first week of the rankings, and they got into the top 4. And that week, when they got into the top 4, got into the playoff, and then won with the third-string quarterback, obviously, won it all, TCU was 3rd. Ohio State was 6th. TCU and Ohio State both blew out their opponents. There wasn't a championship game in the Big 12 back then. TCU beat Iowa State something like 55-3. I think it was 52-3. Ohio State beat Wisconsin, who was a 1-point favorite in the Big 10 championship game. The committee, and one of the biggest screw-ups still, I think, left TCU out at number 3, winning by 42 points, and put Ohio State in. They backed it up. They won the championship. It's the right decision. So this is similar. And by that time, they're going to say, the hell with the head-to-head. If they both went out, we're going to put Ohio State in. You can see it from here to next Thursday. I know it's going to happen.
Yeah, Oregon is basically, they're a sitting duck. No pun intended.
There it is.
But they're kind of like, they're a sitting duck right now, because right now the signature win against Ohio State is huge. That's why they're in the top 4. But yes, Dennis, you're right. If you look at Oregon's schedule, it's watered down. They don't have a ranked opponent. And yes, if they get into the Pac-12 championship game, they won't play a ranked opponent based on how we see the rankings right now. So that's going to hurt them. Ohio State, they still got some nice games left to be played on their schedule. Ohio State needs Michigan State to continue to win. They need Michigan to continue to win. And whoever comes from the West, they need them to continue to win as well, to be ranked as high as possible. And if they win out, I don't care what happens with Oregon. I don't care how bad they beat the teams they play against. They will be on the outside looking in. So it's good for this moment right now, the first rankings. Oregon, enjoy the moment. But you better hope Ohio State has another slip up, because if they take care of their business based on the teams they're supposed to play and how high they are ranked currently, yes, Dennis, you're right on. They will jump Oregon, get into the top 4, and if there's no other chaos between the other teams in the top 4, Oregon won't make it.
Yeah, those teams chasing right now, needing some help from Michigan State, Oregon. We'll talk about the SEC championship game here in a moment, but I want to turn our attention right now to the headline in Norman, which is boom or bust. The Sooners sitting at number 8 in the college football playoff ranking. They were looking like a team that's maybe crescendoing at the right time, sort of getting one foot out in front of the other with their young freshman quarterback who's set the world on fire, looking like a team that was building towards the college football playoff. But sitting at number 8 with Michigan, Cincinnati, and Ohio State sitting between them and a spot in the playoff. BMAC, is this end scene roll credits for Oklahoma regardless of what they do?
Well, you look at their schedule, Joe, they got number 12 Baylor, Oklahoma, who's right outside the top 10. Left to play as well, so they can still make things interesting. I think right now we're seeing just the lack of respect the committee sees with Oklahoma. I mean, this has been a storyline for their university for quite some time. Score points, can't stop anybody. And then we see the same style get into the playoffs, and it's one-sided. It's a lopsided affair, mostly going in favor of the team they're playing against. So me personally, I'm surprised to see how far they are away from being in the top 4. I didn't expect to see them in the top 4, but I'm definitely surprised to see Michigan with one loss in front of them. I'm surprised to see an undefeated Cincinnati team in front of them. So right now, they're not valuing the team in totality coming from Oklahoma based on how inconsistent they've been on the defensive side and some of the issues we've seen in years past from Oklahoma, from teams from Oklahoma getting into the playoffs and not being able to stop anybody.
Yeah, here's the issue I have. I already talked to you about Michigan State and Cincinnati basically being the same team to me. I understand that. They're 3 spots apart right now. Are you telling me Oklahoma's 5 spots worse than Michigan State? They're penalizing Oklahoma for playing some games close they shouldn't have, for changing quarterbacks. Spencer Rattler, by the way, is completing 75% of his passes. I guess they're being penalized for coming way behind and beating Texas, who is now 4-4. I think that's actually a plus when you come back in the biggest comeback in Red River history. And finally, if we want to talk about defensive problems for two undefeated teams, Michigan State has the worst pass defense in the Big Ten. And it's not even close right now. They just gave up 400 yards passing to Michigan. Cade McNamara had a career day, 383 yards. So, if we're going to balance these two from two Power 5 conferences, it's almost like they're looking at the Big 12 in 2024 when Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF are in there, and Oklahoma's in the SEC. No, this is different. They whiffed on this one. I had Oklahoma in my top 4. I have no problem Michigan State being in the top 4, but 5 spots apart? No way.
Dennis, I'm right there with you, and I'll outline the criteria that the committee uses. Strength of schedule, conference championships when decided, head-to-head, results versus common opponents, results versus ranked opponents. This is quite the statement from the committee here, putting Oklahoma at 8 just because they played some tight ball games. The road back, as we said, is steep. We do need to talk about Cincinnati as well, because this seems like a, hey, Cincy, thanks for playing type statement. We'll see you when we expand. Dennis, as you take stock of Cincinnati right now, you've made it clear what it's going to take for any of these teams on the outside to get in. What does Cincinnati's road look like?
They're going to need at least 2 teams above them to lose to get in consideration, it looks like, for the top 4. We already talked about Oklahoma. If they run the table from 8, might be, I think might be ahead of them. Ohio State's got a loss. Oregon's got a loss. I think both of those have to lose. Maybe Michigan State as well. Michigan State as a one, or Michigan State or Michigan as a one-loss Big Ten champion might get in as well if Ohio State loses. So it doesn't look good for them right now, this late in the season, to need that much help. We're going to have this discussion for the next 5 weeks, but they just have to do what they've been doing. Play these teams. The schedule strength is not good down the stretch. Win big, beat SMU twice if that's what it comes to, and then hope, because right now they need at least 2 teams above them this week to lose to have a chance.
Yeah, to basically sum up, what Dennis just stated, they need chaos. They need a lot of chaos to happen. You need Bama to lose again. You need Michigan State to lose. You need Oregon to lose. You need Ohio State to lose. Heck, you need Michigan to lose again. You probably need Oklahoma to lose also. They just need a lot. And SMU losing last week to Houston didn't help their chances as well. They struggled over the last few weeks in some of the ball games they played. So they have, number one, they got to win out. Number two, but they need a lot of chaos to happen for them to have a outside shot to be able to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, Cincinnati might be being used as the battering ram to knock down the door to expansion. Hey, look at this undefeated team that we just couldn't fit in. We'll see how that all comes to pass as well. Before we let you go here, gentlemen, I want to turn our attention back to the SEC because it all runs through the SEC. Looking at that championship game specifically, Georgia, Bama, 1 and 2. Does it matter what happens in this ball game? Let's say Bama takes their second loss here in the SEC championship game, assuming that those are the 2 teams in the title game. If they take that second loss, sitting at number 2 right now, and if they're sitting at number 2 on that given day, are they insulated enough to get in as a 2-loss team into this Final Four, Dennis?
No, they're all but out. I mean, unless there are multiple teams in that sphere with 2 losses, no 2-loss team has ever gotten into the playoff. There's only 2 teams in the modern era that have won championships with 2 losses, 1960 Minnesota and 2007 LSU. So, and I think the committee knows that. I don't think they would catch a break with Alabama. They would need help, and it depends. Look, it depends on the margin of victory too. So, no, I don't think there's any way the SEC gets 2 if Georgia wins that game. Now, the best situation is if Alabama wins and you've got 2 very highly rated 1-loss teams from the SEC, and it happens again. That's how we got to this expansion discussion, which, by the way, may end up going in a big circle and ending at 4. I've got a story tomorrow on it. The unfairness of the playoff and the BCS, and there's so much wrangling in that room with the commissioners. They may end up at 4, which would be a darn shame. But no, in answer to your question, no, Alabama's all but out.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Dennis. Oh, by the way, I can't wait to check out your story tomorrow regarding the expansion or the lack thereof of college football playoffs. But yeah, I don't see 2 losses. If that happened, they lost to Georgia in the SEC championship game, they need a lot of chaos as well, similar to what I stated with Cincinnati. But I don't expect to see that happening. I mean, Alabama, they know what they need to do going forward. They know they got to win out, take care of their business, get to the SEC championship game and win as well to be able to stamp their seat of approval into the college football playoffs.
The task is
Joe,
clear.
one more thing.
Go ahead, Dennis.
I had one, just real quick. No Power 5 undefeated conference champion has never been left out. You've got Oklahoma at number 8. You've got Wake Forest at number 9, undefeated. So there's that conundrum.
We got some newness coming down the pipe here with Oklahoma sitting at number 8 and eyeing another Big 12 title. The beauty of it all, we get to sit and watch it play out over the coming weeks. Gentlemen, fantastic stuff as always. Thank you. Taking one last look here at that college football playoff top 10. It's just the first, but it means a whole lot. Georgia at 1, Bama at 2, MSU at 3, Oregon quacking at 4. Beyond that, Ohio State, they can smell it, but they're not in just yet. Take care of business, you should be. Sitting at 7-1. All roads in the Big Ten run through Columbus, as Ryan Day has yet to lose as the head coach against a Big Ten opponent. Cincinnati sitting at 6. A lot has to happen. Michigan, and then the big surprise here on Tuesday, Oklahoma at 9-0. Looking at another conference championship. Your 8th-ranked team in the nation.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.